whenever you're organising an evangelistic event, you want to make sure that people know about it. Now, of course, we want to invite our friends, and that's a good place to start. But if Christians only invite their friends, then on average, we'll probably be only reaching, at very most, 5% of the town or the university that we're in. And so we need to think, how can we reach the 95% that don't have Christian friends and don't already know or have some contact with the gospel? And that's where publicity really comes into its own. Now, some people get discouraged at the ineffectiveness of publicity. You hand out flyers and most people don't come, and that's true. I would suggest that less than 5% of flyers result in people coming to an event. Now, that doesn't mean we don't hand out flyers. I just think that means we need to hand out lots of flyers and then more people will come. But the other thing that's important is that there's a cumulative impact of different forms of publicity that will make it more effective. If we expect just a poster or just a flyer or just an advert on Facebook to have an impact, we'll probably be disappointed. But if we use lots of forms of communication, then we can have a deeper and longer lasting impact in people. Now, of course, there needs to be a recognisable branding that goes through all of that kind of publicity, so people will start to see that they've had repeated exposure to it. Now, even if you're small, you can still have quite an impact. Social media obviously is a way that lots of people will get their information. And as well as obviously changing your own profile pictures and putting adverts on your own social media outlets, you can actually pay for targeted advertising through many forms of social media that will reach a particular town or a particular university in question. And that can be helpful and not necessarily as expensive as people think. And then it's also just worth thinking about creative forms of advertising that you may not have thought about before. Students often all wear hoodies of the same colour with the branding of the Mission Week on. They often set up pop-up coffee stands in the university. There'll be question boards going around the campus. Anything that generates interest and gets people thinking. And it's also worth being creative as well. A group in Poland were trying to think about how they could invite their friends to an event, but there was only 3 members of this particular group, and so they didn't have many personnel. But what they decided to do was to go to the local hall of residence where most of the students live, and they all dressed up. The first person dressed up as Death and went round as the Grim Reaper, knocking on the doors of the students. And when the students opened the door, Death just gave them a bit of a stare and then ran off. About 5 minutes later, the next student came round dressed up as an angel. And the angel knocked on the door, the student would answer it, and the angel would ask, "Did Death come by a minute ago?" And of course the student would say, "Well, yes." And Death would then say, the angel would then say, "Well, you don't need to worry about death because Jesus has defeated death, and if you come to this event organised by the Christian Society, you can find out about it." Gave them the leaflet. And then the angel would run off. And then about 5 minutes later, the third and final student member came round dressed up as the devil. Knocked on the door opened, and the devil asked the question, "Did an angel come round a few minutes ago?" "Yes." "Did the angel invite you to come to this Christian event?" "Well, yes, he did." And then the devil just said, "Whatever you do, don't go." And then the devil ran off. And of course, the best thing to tell a student is not to do something because then they'll want to do it. And so many people came. So I just thought it was a great example of something creative, something that was fun, something that got people interested in what was going on. So think outside of the box. Think what will get people talking and then give it a go. And you might as well try. And there's no penalty for failing. Not all forms of advertising will be equally effective, but try them all and see what works.